Ubisoft just announced Far Cry New Dawn at the Game Awards, and it's coming out on February 15th, 2019, so that is 2 months from now. It will be a $45 or €45 release and take place after Far Cry 5. But I got way more things that you need to know about this pretty promising looking game. I namely went to London over a week ago to see the game in action and also interview the developers to learn more about this new Far Cry. And as someone that played Far Cry 5 a ton, there are things that sound really good. Although I don't think we should expect the gameplay to change that much. So let's get into it. I will all show you exclusive gameplay, and I got a ton of exclusive info as well. So if you enjoy that, then a like would be super appreciated, and let's go. New Dawn is set 17 years after the ending of Far Cry 5. So yes, after the nuclear war, after the bombs that Joseph Seed and his cult predicted destroyed the world. So Far Cry New Dawn is basically the map from Far Cry 5, but completely taken over by nature. So you will recognize places from Hope County, but navigating them will be different thanks to the Super Bloom, and they might have different purposes as well. A location from Far Cry 5 that you could easily visit might now be an outpost in New Dawn, although the creative director noted that some of the outposts in Far Cry 5 will also be in New Dawn, but taken over by the new enemy faction, the Highwaymen. They are like modern pirates and go from place to place to claim everything and then move on to the next one. The main villains are Mickey and Lou, who we saw in the reveal trailer. They are twins. They were the daughters of the founder of the Highwaymen gang, but they killed their father because he was a problem maker, because they think there are two types of people, a problem maker and a problem solver, and they are problem solvers, so they killed their father. Of course, very little is known about these twins, but right now I'm not really sure if they will have the same impact as the Seed siblings. But yeah, we will have to find out in the game. You play a completely new character that comes to Hope County with a train, but you will be hijacked by the Highwaymen and then want to fight against them. So you are a new character, nothing from Far Cry 5 will carry over. There is a similar character creator with some new additions as well, and Ubisoft really sees this as a new entry point for people who haven't played Far Cry 5 with a new point of view. But of course, if you spend a lot of time in Far Cry 5 like me, then you will see some Easter eggs like places in the world, some familiar characters, and of course at the end of the trailer we see Joseph Seed. So yes, he is also in the world, we will get to meet him, although Ubisoft did not want to tell me too much about it, only that he has changed, the world is kind of where he wants it to be, so he's a new man. Very interesting indeed. And of course your character from Far Cry 5 also survived the nuclear bomb attack, as we saw in the ending. They will be addressing what happened to your character as well, so really curious how they will handle that. Apart from a completely changed Hope County, we will also be going on an expedition to other places in the US that also have changed after the nuclear attack. You can go to these locations via a helicopter in your home base, and I will touch on the home base in a second. So then you select a destination and can go there. And I now have footage of a 5-star theme park, but during the presentation I also saw that you could go to a canyon, a swamp, and also that you could infiltrate a big ship. And the developers noted that there will be many of these locations in the main game, although they would not say a number. And as you would expect, the theme park is in ruin and now taken over by the Highwaymen. The idea is that you grab a package that is somewhere in the area and secure it in your helicopter without dying. But the moment you grab the package, all the enemies in the area will know where you are thanks to a GPS, and then you have to fight them off while you wait for the helicopter to arrive. And the expeditions are not only for some variation in the areas you will explore, but also for a harder challenge. Ubisoft noted that because this is a smaller area and not in the big open world, that they could increase the amount of enemies you could fight and also make the graphics a little better because they only had to focus on this smaller area. And the idea is that you return to these locations. Every expedition will have 3 levels with different places for the package, for the alarms, and also with tougher enemies. And the higher the level of the expedition, the more resources you take home to your base. But yeah, that will be easier said than done thanks to the tougher enemies, because in Far Cry New Dawn, enemies will have 4 tiers with better armor and better weapons, so they will be harder to take out. And that goes hand in hand with the new health bar bar and damage number system that you likely already saw in the gameplay as well. So now when you shoot on an enemy, you will see how much damage you do and also how much the enemy has left in terms of health. And it should give Far Cry New Dawn more depth, where in Far Cry 5 you could easily kill all enemies with one shot with certain weapons, and you really had no good reason to switch to another weapon that was not as good in terms of power. Ubisoft wants you to be smarter with your loadout in this game, and upgrading your weapons will be a big part of that as well. Resources that you find in the world are now way more important and are needed to craft and upgrade weapons, but also vehicles, explosives and other stuff like that. But in order to unlock these new explosives, you have to upgrade your explosives lab at the Prosperity home base. There's also a healing garden, for example, for medkits, the garage that unlocks new vehicles, a workbench that you need to upgrade to unlock new weapons. And there's also a place that you can upgrade to get more intel for in the world, so you know where new things are that you can explore. Just like in Far Cry 5, you can still ask the locals and they will point you in a specific direction, but this is just another way to learn more about the different locations. Another thing that shows you that this home base is really important is that the progression of the story is also really focused on this base. So the more you upgrade it, the more you move forward with the story as well. And one of the nice things is that they will not do the forced capture again. So now you can engage in a story mission instead of being captured and having to escape before you can continue to explore the world. Ubisoft told me that they want to give you freedom after the intro to do any mission in every order you want, where in Far Cry 5 you had to escape and went to the area of the bad guys against your will. In New Dawn you will be infiltrating the area of the highwaymen yourself. So that is an interesting twist for sure. And I also asked if we could expect changes in the world as we progressed through the game. Something I really liked in Faith's area in Far Cry 5, for example, where you saw way more hallucinations the closer you got to capturing Faith. Well, they said that the world will indeed change and have some surprises, but no details on it yet. I'm curious how the freedom will be impacted by the different tiers of enemies, because it's recommended that you shoot an enemy from level 3 with a level 3 weapon, for example, and you'll obviously not have that at the beginning of the game. So maybe that will change when you upgrade the base. The enemies in the world will become stronger. Just a speculation, but that could be the case. And the tiers of enemies also have an impact on the return of a fan favorite, the knife takedowns. They are back, and that is really where you start out the game with. Like, the first weapon you get is the knife. And these takedowns look sweet and are different depending on the angle you approach the enemy. Anyway, with a rank 1 knife you can instantly take out level 1 enemies, but not level 2 enemies. You then need to upgrade your knife to level 2 with the perk points. So yes, perks are back in Far Cry New Dawn, and you can get them from the familiar challenges that we saw in Far Cry 5 as well, like kill enemies with a certain weapon, for example. But you can also again find them in the world from treasure hunts, and they are very similar to the prepper stashes, only they tell now the story of the people that tried to survive after the bombs fell. So what happened in those 17 years. I asked about the perk systems, like what can we expect, but they did not really want to talk about that yet, only that it's focused on survival this time and that it has a different proposition, so curious to see how they changed this system up. In Far Cry 5 you could use perks to decrease the spawn time of your guns and fangs for hire, and yes, there is a new selection of these allies that will be fighting along your side. In the gameplay you already saw Nana, a grandma that is really good with a sniper. Herc will also be back, he survived. We got a new dog that can sit next to you in a vehicle. Yes, they really listened to a lot of the Far Cry 5 feedback, and this was really one of the biggest things. We also got a boar that likes to jump onto enemies as well, and the daughter of Nick and Kim Rai is also in this game. In Far Cry 5 they of course got a child, and now she's grown up, 70 years old, and also ready to kick some ass. There are 8 guns and fangs for hire in total, and they now have special perks as well that unlock the more you use the guns or fangs for hire. So more depth, and that is what we will see in the overall game as well. Like, systems from Far Cry 5 improved and with more depth added. And I'm totally for that. I'm just curious if the activities will be as mixed as in Far Cry 5. That was a part I really liked about that game. Yes, Yes, you were shooting a lot, but they did twist the activities, so it always felt a little different. So yeah, hopefully there will be a New Dawn as well. Hard to say right now, I haven't seen a full mission of the game yet. I'm again not really convinced by the villains yet, but hopefully that will change as well. The world does speak to me. I really like the setting. This is really what I wanted, a continuation of the Far Cry 5 universe. And it looks like there will be a lot of cool Easter eggs for us Far Cry 5 fans. Far Cry Arcade is, by the way, not included in this release, so we can't create our own levels in this game. Ubisoft did confirm to me that we should expect post-launch content. I asked if, for example, the live events would return, but they could not say yet. We should hear more about that closer to release, and that is again already in 2 months. February 15th, that is really insane. I really can't wait to get my hands on it, feel it for myself. I do think that the changes they made, the new additions they added, they really listened to feedback. I think that's great. The setting with the different expeditions sounds really cool. But I really hope that the gameplay loop and the mechanics feel different enough compared to Far Cry 5, that it does not feel like more of the same but in a different setting. We will have to wait and see. I'm curious to hear what you think about Far Cry New Dawn. Let me know in the comments down below. Subscribe, of course, for everything about this game. I got more info that I want to share from my interview and event in London. Like, I learned a ton about the game there, and I wanted to give you now a sort of brief overview of everything I know, but go more in depth into specific things later on. You can right now already check out some gameplay without commentary by clicking on the screen, and I will speak to you next time. Goodbye.